name is Hannah, and with me today is, of course, Braxton.
Hello.
And a Malcolm alum, Teresa Lostro. Teresa, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I graduated from Malcolm in 2007, and I think I'm here maybe to talk a little bit about the unexpected trajectory of my life since that time. I don't know exactly where we'll take us today, but yeah, after I graduated, I anticipated being ultimately a New York Times news reporter. Of course, that is not ultimately where I ended up, but that was my
Nebraska, New York.
Right. I pursued a journalism degree at first. It was actually called news editorial at that time at the university at UNL. Added Spanish, studied abroad a couple times, moved abroad after college graduation, traveled all over the place, ultimately moved back to do my master's, and I've been here working ever since. So that's me in a nutshell, I suppose.
Sounds like you've had quite a path there just from that quick second, and we'll get more into that later. So you said you graduated from Malcolm in 2007. What was your favorite memory here at Malcolm? You know, because we want to compare and contrast with you saying what we say.
Yeah, I'm horrible with like superlative questions, like the best or favorite. I really struggle on those, but I will say, I don't know that I can think of one distinct memory, but I will say that now that I have my own son and he goes to school here in Lincoln, and I taught abroad in a public middle high school in Spain. And so those two experiences, I think, highlight for me what I really valued about my high school experience at Malcolm that I probably didn't recognize at the time, but now that I've seen other contexts, it highlights that for me. One is the community connection. So I was in sports. I also did drama and speech, and just the investment that everyone feels in the community, and the identity of being from Malcolm, or the identity of being a Clipper, still runs really strong. And I even see that when I go back to Malcolm and see my sister and my family there. But so I think that's my favorite takeaway, I guess, from my experience at Malcolm and in high school, is the way that the entire community rallies around the sports teams or the speech team, or, you know, whatever it might be. There's a lot of pride in the community. And with my son here in Lincoln, it's a very different experience. There isn't necessarily the same degree of investment in his elementary school, and he doesn't identify, you know, with the mascot of his school nearly in the way that Malcolm students do. And so that's probably my favorite part of my experience there, now that I'm older and can look back on what that meant to me.
Yeah,
I completely agree. Yeah.
It's definitely a community, and everybody knows everyone, and it's great to be able to have those connections with, you know, I know pretty much every kid in the entire high school. When if you went to some of those big Lincoln schools, I have some friends there too, and they have no idea half the people in their general English class. I mean, so yeah, I do really like that it's a community and we all know each other. And yeah,
it is like you do know everybody, and you know what everybody's going through. You know everything about everybody. It's such a close-knit community. And you mentioned you wanted to go work for the New York Times, and that's a completely different ball field. So did you always know you wanted to do that? And like, I know you're not doing that right now, but like, was that always your dream? And how did that college path look for you because of those dreams that you had, and how did those change?
I've always been a very inquisitive, curious person, and I tend to ask a lot of questions and inquire about people's lives, and so I think that really aligns with the reporting side of being a reporter. But writing was always something that came naturally to me, and that was I think a talent that was really fostered by my teachers at Malcolm, and then later by my college professors as well. And so it was kind of the convergence, I guess, of those two interests, of my natural inquisitiveness and being a strong writer, that led me to pursue journalism originally in college. And then, yeah, as I did internships and I started working as a reporter, I just ultimately, I just assumed that I would work. I mean, it's naive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Time, and I had really high expectations and aspirations for myself, but that was my intention for a long time, even at the beginning of college in my first couple of years. But ultimately, I realized that travel and developing Spanish and ultimately now working with students was more of a passion area for me. And so I ended up leaving journalism. But you just never know where life is going to take you. I think is if there's any underlying lesson of my own personal life trajectory and where I've ended up, it's you just can't anticipate the types of opportunities that'll be presented to you, and you have to be willing to take them.
And I
Yeah,
feel
and
like that, yeah, we get that a lot. Like it kind of, this whole thing found me. I had to look for it more than I thought I would. It's not just, it comes to you. You have a lot of time to think about who you want to be, what you want your life to be. And so I completely understand what you're saying, because I still don't know what I'm going to do. So it's nice to hear that it's common.
Yeah, I mean, even if you think that you know what you want to do, like I did, like, oh yeah, I'm going to be a New York Times reporter. Of course, that's not how it ended up. So even students who, and for some students who have a very concrete life path mapped out for them, some of them ultimately do end up in that area. But you have to be willing to entertain alternatives that suit your lifestyle and your interests, and hopefully ultimately find something that you're going to be strongly passionate about. And I don't
Yeah.
know that the whole saying of like, find a job where you don't feel like you're working a day in your life. I don't believe that. I think that's hyperbole. I love my job, but it feels like work at times. But for me, I think it aligns with my strengths, and it allows me to maximize those. And I think that's the lesson that I've taken away in finding my career path, is like, find something that lets you maximize what you're good at, while still allowing you to obviously grow and develop new skills too.
Yeah. And after doing, several of these interviews with other people, a lot of people have said that, they were going into college to be a play-by-play announcer, and now they announce for the Brewers, or, whatever. It's happened quite a bit that I've noticed. I don't know about you, Hannah, but we see that something changed and something called them. And it's so awesome to see that. Just see where people end up, I think.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
To get a better idea of life's unpredictability is, because I think that's important to know, especially at our age.
Yeah. As we're beginning to discuss colleges and tuition and financial aid and all that fun stuff right before senior year.
Yay.
Yay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you studied abroad. Where did you all go, and what kind of lessons did you learn while out there? Because I'm sure that there are things way different than here in Nebraska.
Yeah. So the first time I just did a short-term, like 6-week program in Spain. I think that was after my freshman year of college. And I ended up actually backpacking for a few weeks in Europe. I think it was beforehand. Yeah, it was beforehand, with another Malcolm alum. And she was on the program with me, Emily Eicher. She probably, I don't know if she'll ever ultimately see this recording, but I will let her know that it's out there. But
and there, hate to interrupt, there's that community bond again, just right there. I mean,
yeah. And actually later down the road, when I was in Spain teaching English, after graduation, I ended up being there completely coincidentally in the same region of Spain with another Malcolm grad, Melinda Diner. And we ended up traveling again together. We like hiked mountains in Switzerland and went to Edinburgh, Scotland together. And so, yeah, very strange. It's a very small world. I don't even remember what I was originally, talking about studying abroad. So yeah, the first time I went to Spain, and that was kind of the start of it for me, probably much to the chagrin of my parents, because I ended up traveling a lot after that. But We went to Italy and Germany and Spain and other places that I can't remember because I was 18 at the time. And then I later did a semester in San Jose, Costa Rica. Lived with the host family there. That was really amazing. That was a better long-term opportunity for me to improve my Spanish skills. And speaking of my connection to Malcolm, then Mrs. Hermbloom, who was the Spanish teacher at the time, had me do like a pen pal program with her students, writing back and forth in Spanish about my experience there. Yeah, and then I had a Spanish professor at the university who encouraged me to keep the Spanish thing going after graduation, and so she connected me with the program that I ultimately pursued to spend a couple of years teaching English in Spain after I graduated from college. So
wow,
serendipity,
did it all.
People opening up opportunities for me and me taking them, and each kind of adventure and experience ultimately led to the next one.
Wow.
I would love to study abroad, so it's awesome to hear your story. That's like one of my dreams, is to be able to leave the country for a while and have a completely different experience. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
It was amazing. It's definitely an investment financially, of course, but also in time. I was very fortunate to have scholarships that covered the cost, so I didn't have to quite worry so much about the funding side of it. But if the opportunity presents itself and it's a financial reality for you or for your family or for whomever, I would highly encourage it, because it really did shape where I ultimately ended up, and led me away from journalism and toward international education. And I think I'm much happier now in where I ended up. You never know.
Yeah.
Do you have any, I know we're talking about the superlatives again, but do you have any favorite memories from when you were studying abroad specifically?
Oh boy. Yeah, there are a lot. Again, I can't necessarily think of one distinct moment. And this is kind of ironic, because when I used to work as a journalist, and I was always the person asking the questions, and when the person would not answer directly, I was like, how can you not answer a simple question directly? And here I am dodging direct questions and changing the question. But I guess I will answer this maybe a little more broadly of some of the places that I really enjoyed, or some of the experiences I had that really stick in my mind. I mentioned the trip to Switzerland with the Malcolm alum. That was really beautiful. That's something that sticks with me. I mentioned Edinburgh, Scotland with her as well. That's probably the favorite city I've ever been to. It's absolutely stunning. I'm also a Harry Potter fan, and a lot of Harry Potter things came from Edinburgh. So that was interesting. I camped in the Sahara Desert in Morocco. That's not Europe, that's of course North Africa, but that was amazing. Spain, of course. I mean, I've been every single place you can imagine in Spain.
Wow.
I don't know. I think maybe 30. I don't know exactly how many countries I've been to, but Bulgaria was amazing too. I've been to some, really common places, but also some that are less common, maybe a little bit more obscure. So yeah, it's not a very direct answer to your question.
No, I like the answer.
Wow.
That's pretty awesome. Jeez. I wish one day I could say I visited all of these places and not even know which ones are my favorite.
You're still young. The
thankfully.
Opportunities are endless.
I could only imagine how full your passport book is with stamps from all over the place.
The sad thing though about Europe is there's like an agreement among a bunch of countries. It's called like the Schengen visa area, and if you travel between those, you don't have to get your passport stamped. And so because of that, I actually don't have as many stamps as I would like to, and that's one of the reasons I can't remember as well where I've been, because I don't have passport stamps for all of them. So
that's pretty funny.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting that they don't stamp that just for, I mean, I know I've been to Mexico once and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Having that.
You know, I haven't been to Mexico. I get asked that all the time, and that's one place I have not been. So, but yeah, in Europe, they treat it kind of like interstate travel. So you can just easily go between countries, you know, which in some cases are the same size as a state here anyway. So it's just to facilitate easier travel throughout Europe. So I get it, but I have I guess a figuratively full passport, but in the literal sense, not so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is sporty.
Yeah. So with all those amazing experiences, how did you find your calling to UNL, to work at UNL?
Yeah, that was kind of a varied path as well. So I think throughout all of my experiences, it really actually starting from Malcolm all the way through college, is I tried to listen to teachers or supervisors or professors or whomever was trying to like foster a strength or foster a talent or really encourage me to pursue something. So I mentioned Mrs. Hermbloom earlier. I don't think she's at Malcolm anymore, but she was my Spanish teacher all throughout school. And she noticed that Spanish came easy to me and that I would often help my peers and whatnot. So she encouraged me in that. I didn't necessarily know that it would ultimately become like a fundamental part of my experience in profession, but same with like with writing. And I had teachers at Malcolm who really encouraged my writing, and I said that led to me pursuing journalism, and the same thing at the university. So ultimately, you know, pursuing Spanish and moving abroad and working as a reporter too, those were largely shaped by people nudging me in that direction and encouraging me. So if there's any takeaway from that, I would say, you know, for students, listen to the people who are trying to support you and foster your talents, and they probably do know best. I mean, not that they have to decide for you, but if they're really encouraging you in something and saying you're good at this and you should really consider this for your future, you know, listen to them, because it can end up being a really fundamental part of ultimately what you do with your life. But I can't even remember exactly where I was going with this, but how I ended up where I ended up. And so, you know, I mentioned earlier, my professor encouraged me to apply for the Spanish or this program in Spain. So I did that. That was actually after I did a short stint reporting for the Omaha World Herald, with the intention of moving back from Spain after my first year and resuming full-time work for them as a reporter. And things changed when I got to Spain. I really loved it. I had an amazing first year. I loved the people. I got to travel a lot. I loved teaching and experiencing that experience in a middle one high school there. And I decided to stay a second year. And then I came home for a break to visit my family for Christmas. I was feeling lost. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I knew I did not want to be a reporter anymore. It didn't feel like my calling anymore, but I didn't know what my calling was. So I actually met with a career services advisor at the university. I was an alumnus by the time, but I was like, hey, I'm feeling lost. I need direction. I went there. She mentioned student affairs. I was talking about how much I loved the study abroad experience, and I wanted to like be the person who kind of coordinates that experience for students. And she said student affairs, higher education administration. Went back, finished my year in Spain, spontaneously applied for the graduate program, got it, got a graduate assistantship working on international programs, and it just kind of worked out. So serendipity.
Wow.
Yeah.
How awesome. And just that crazy path led you right back home to UNL, and yeah.
Full circle.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. Do you have anything final to add? Any final thank yous? Because I know most of our viewers are in fact from Malcolm. And I'm sure you know a lot of people here. So do you have anything final to say to anyone out there?
I guess if teachers watch this, know that your efforts to encourage and support students are not in vain, although they may feel like it at times, and it may feel like a futile effort to encourage students. But like I mentioned, for me, that's why I ultimately pursued the degree I did in college. And even in my current job, I am the associate director of new student enrollment, and so I help oversee like orientation and enrollment programs for new students. But I write all of our communications, so all of our website content, all of our email communications, anything that's a communication from our office, I write.
Wow.
And because of that, and that's because that's something I enjoy, and like I said, something that was really fostered for me at Malcolm. And so regardless of which profession you end up in, there are ways to maximize your skills. And I'm not a reporter anymore, but I still do a lot of writing in my current job. So
that's pretty awesome.
It is. And you'll always use writing and the communication skills that I'm sure you learned from journalism school. And
yeah, and being on the speech team, I was on the speech team at Malcolm too, speech and
Big
drama.
champs.
Yeah, so that refined those skills for me too. So
well, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank
and
you.
Sharing your story. We love hearing from anyone who knows us. So I mean, you don't really know us, but you know us. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next time.
all right, thank you so much for having me.